Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Perkins Custom Swim Bait channel. Appreciate everyone taking some time to watch today's video. Today's video, I want to discuss a question that I think goes around with anyone throwing the big swim baits, and that is big swim bait fishing easy? You know, is it easy to do? Is it hard? What makes it hard? That is a major question that I believe we all have. Is it hard? So I want to kind of break it up into a two-part deal, because for me, I feel like it is personally two parts. And the answer to that question is yes and no. And here's why I say that. So is swim bait fishing easy? Yes, it is easy. And here's how it is easy. It is easy in the mechanics of throwing a big swim bait. You know, like take for example, this is the 10-inch mag draft. This is a big bait. This is the 10-inch mag draft, and what do? You set it up, get it on your line, get it on your rod, and you toss this out there. You get your big swing, you toss it out there, and you reel it in. Okay, for the most part, the bait is doing all the work for you. All you have to do is toss and retrieve, toss and retrieve. That is your whole deal. And in that sense of swim bait fishing, it's easy, just repetitive. Okay, until you find a fish willing to commit to it. So now here comes the second part to that question, and this is the part where I think most of us get in with it's hard. So is swim bait fishing hard? And then that answer is also yes. So I guess really the reverse of that is swim bait fishing easy? And the answer is no. The no part of that, I think, comes from, number one, you're throwing a bigger bait, which means that you are going to have less opportunities at catching a fish. So automatically your number of bites will decrease. Now there are days, and I've had them, and I'm sure that several on here watching have also had these days, to where it's kind of like everything goes great and you're blessed with a wonderful day and you catch fish from sunrise to sunset on a big bait. But those days are not always around. There's certain days that you get those and it really does feel like you're having the time of your life on that day. But at the same time, they're rare. Okay, so when you're having those days that you're struggling out there, you've been to the lake now for 5 times and you've caught one fish in 5 trips throwing a big bait. The hard part of this to me is the mental game that you're having to play. You're having to sacrifice bites, and by sacrifice, I mean, in a lot of cases, you're having to sacrifice a lot of trips, a lot of days, because you're having to break down and learn water from a completely different perspective. For example, when you go and you're fishing a big body of water that you've never been to before, and you're throwing this big bait, everything about that is new to you. You can do every map study, you can do the Google Earth, you can do all of that and try your best to prepare to be on the water that day throwing the big bait. But ultimately, you still got to have fish that start committing and start giving you an indication of what you're doing is correct. Absolutely doing, some pre-work, thinking about, okay, well, what type of forage is my lake? Is it a gizzard? Is it a yellow perch? Is it a trout? What kind of fishery is this body of water? But ultimately, it still boils down to the throwing of the big swim bait is so difficult, because you don't get as much feedback from fish as what you do throwing a smaller bait in the form of catches. So for example, I think that with a big swim bait, your angles, your presentation, time of day, as well as seasonality plays so much more with the big bait than what it does conventional, regular, normal size tackle. That's my personal opinion, and the reason being is just you're getting less interactions automatically because you've completely eliminated, for the most part, these fish in that, let's just say 3 pound and under class, and every fishery is different, that's just a generalization, but you're eliminating that class of fish, which is without a doubt the most abundant in the body of water. And that goes across the country. There is definitely going to be a size of fish that will be more abundant, and typically those are on, you know, for example, down in Texas it might be 5 pounds and less. For Florida it might also be 5 and less. Okay, you know, Midwest it might be, you know, the 4s. Here it's like a 3 and less. It varies across the country, and everyone can kind of see that, but that's my point, is you have eliminated, or your goal, honestly, your goal in throwing a big bait, a really, really big bait, is to catch a really big fish. And by doing so, you're having to eliminate a lot of the numbers that you were getting on conventional tackle. So when you're throwing like a Ned rig or a 2.8 Kitech or something like that, you can gain so much feedback so quickly from the fish saying, okay, it is, you know, it is green pumpkin so and so, or it is, you know, smallmouth magic or chartreuse and blue. You're not getting that number of feedback with this in the form of catches. You know, followers are probably the most aggravating thing to a swimbait fisherman after you've had that first experience of watching fish follow the bait. It's the most exciting thing in the world to see a bass come out of nowhere and it's following something and tracking it this big. But guess what? No matter what you do, you can't get that follower to eat it. And you're having to watch an 8 to 10 pounder come up right behind this thing and just look at it. And you know, I don't know, you know, it's just like, well, it looks good, but I'm not really all that interested. I'm just curious as to why it's swimming here. You know, I mean, I'm just giving you an example as to what's going through a fish's mind, but I mean, truth be told, they won't hit it. It doesn't matter why, they just won't hit it. I've been in those situations. I know that so many people watching here have been on that same exact boat. You're watching these giant followers come out and do it, and you know, it really was exciting for me that first couple of years. Really exciting. Never seen fish this size, and it gets old really quick, because it's like, I don't want to just see these fish. I actually want to put my hands on them. I need them to attack the bait, latch a hold of that hook, and I get them in the boat. But you know, that does not happen each and every time. So, you know, I know this is kind of more of a discussion. I'd love to hear everyone else's thoughts on the subject. Do you think swimbait fishing is easy? But for me personally, I've kind of come to terms with it's a yes and no answer. Yes, mechanically throwing the big soft bait, you know, getting a glide bait to do its little S or big S, I guess, really depending on if you're doing a wide glide or like a smaller cover glide. And then vice versa, if you're throwing like a topwater wake bait, you know, you just toss it out and reel it in, and once it does its kind of knock or clack, you've got it. So mechanically speaking, I don't think swimbait fishing is any harder than any other technique. I think swimbait fishing is a very difficult deal when it comes to the actual mindset when you go out knowing that you're not going to have bites, and because you're not going to have bites, processing information and trying to figure out what to do with the fish. Where do I put the bait? Do I need to change depth? Do I need to change zones? You know, I mean, it could be like with the example with the mag draft, it could be I'm going mid water column and they're wanting something like a Huddleston down on the bottom, and that's just what they're going to eat. Now, definitely take as many swim baits with you as you can, as the boat will carry, to be able to cover all portions of the water column, but still, we only have so many hours in a day, and we can only spend so many of those on the water. So trying to break down this vast amount of information with fewer bites is why I personally think swim bait fishing is hard. It's one of those things that you're trying to break down as much as possible in as short amount of time as possible so you can have one of those great days. But hey, I'm going to leave you with that. I'd love it if everyone would please put their comments down below. I'd love to hear what everyone has to think. Please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. We're going to be getting back out on the water here very soon on some more on the water episodes, so those are up and coming. And if you enjoy this type of content, I put out a new video once per week on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you enjoy that, please hit that little subscribe button and notification bell. It's completely free, doesn't cost anything, and it just helps you stay up to date with when new videos come out. But I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next video.